What's going on? Jake with Chain Genius back for another episode of the Crypto Daily Update. And today we're going to talk about Binance being all over the news, the Winklevoss twins talking about self-regulation, and Chinese government coming back out with more regulatory news. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing is Binance, for those that don't know, last week was part of a phishing attack where some hackers used a third-party API for a trading bot, and over a period of a couple of months, phished a bunch of credentials and information of users' accounts. And then using those accounts, they sold and bought VIA off of BTC. And they did this because they had some accounts of their own where they sold into the hype or the buy-up, resulting in them making a profit. And their attempt was to then liquidate and remove those off the exchange as quickly as possible. Luckily, Binance seems to be pretty advanced, and their early warning system noticed the unusual activity and not only froze the funds for the compromised user accounts, but also froze the funds of the hackers. So the hackers ended up losing a large amount of money. What's really cool about this is Binance took it a step further. Instead of being reactive, they wanted to be proactive. So they actually put out a $250,000 equivalent bounty based on time of exchange worth of BNB tokens. And what they're doing is the first person to supply substantial information and evidence that leads to the legal arrest of the hackers in any jurisdiction will receive the equivalent of $250,000 in BNB token, which is awesome because it's creating a bounty system and basically saying they're not going to roll over and let this happen again. So I thought that was really cool. They're trying to be proactive. Binance continues to impress me personally. Another piece of news that happened as of yesterday was Binance is officially going to support the EOS mainnet token swap, meaning all the heavy lifting, logistics, and technical pieces to it, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sit back, have your tokens on there, because currently they're ERC20 tokens, and when the mainnet's getting ready to launch and handle the token swap, they'll do all of it for you. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So that's awesome. They're making it easier and easier. And something else that this is doing is it's starting to lend more and more validity to EOS. While I have some concerns about them raising over $1.5 billion worth of funding on their never-ending ICO, over the past couple of months, I've seen more and more support coming to EOS with the EOS Development Fund, EOS Finex, which is Bitfinex's decentralized exchange going to be built on the EOS platform. And in general, it just seems like the community, the organization, and the team are really trying to make this work. Whether or not long-term viability is there, no one knows, but it's important to see that more major players are supporting EOS, so it's not just, in my mind, going to end up as vaporware. Again, whether they judiciously use $1.5 billion has yet to be seen. Finally, as of today, Binance is going to be launching their own chain, their own blockchain. So currently the BNB token is an ERC20 token, but that will eventually get swapped and migrated over to their mainnet chain. And what's really important about this is, and the reason why they're doing this, is they are planning to launch a decentralized exchange framework. And from what I'm understanding, what they're going to do is they're going to build a separate chain that will act as an interoperable trading chain to allow assets to be swapped across various chains. So think part of the interoperability alliance, as it were, but on an exchange. And this is really interesting because you've seen more and more players stepping into the decentralized exchange space. You saw this with Bitfinex launching Finex and announcing EOS Finex. You're seeing this happen with Binance. There's now IDEX, Radar Relay, Ocean, what else? Fork Delta, which was a fork of Ether Delta after they were sold. And that's really promising because as more regulation comes down the pipe, we're going to need to see more DEXs. And AirSwap's getting closer to launching. We've got Kyber Network in the pipe, Omega One somewhere in their development process. There's a lot of them, and they're all slightly different, and they're all trying to tackle this problem of how do you maintain an exchange and balance speed, maintain an order book, liquidity, while also not taking control of a user's funds. So this will be really cool to see. There's a semantic issue that I have where if they're still charging for listing fees on a decentralized exchange, how decentralized are they really? Because at that point, like Ether Delta and Fork Delta allow anyone to interact with an ERC20 contract, no listing fees, you just point to the contract if it's not officially listed and you're good to go. So that's really awesome. regardless, across the board, Binance has been doing some really cool stuff, and I hope that they can continue to maintain this pace of innovation. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the Winklevoss twins, the Winklev, proposed self-regulating body for cryptocurrency industry. And again, as more regulation seems to be coming down the pipe, everything's a commodity, a security, money. It's important that this happens. And I know that Ryan Selkis, his Twitter handle's 2BitIdiot, is really big on this, creating a self-regulatory organization, which is an SRO. And the Winklev, in this particular case, want to call it the Virtual Commodity Association, which, whatever, names aside, I think it's really important. Again, I keep hitting this over the head because if we don't learn how to self-regulate and protect ourselves, the government will do it for us. And whether or not they can fully bring a stop to it, they can definitely slow the growth and the pace of innovation in the space and push a lot of the brain power and money outside of the US, which could be a problem long term, at least for us. So I think it's really positive that the Winklev are at least taking a stand in an attempt, same with Ryan Selkis, to create this self-regulating organization. And I know that Ryan Selkis wants to do this through a token-curated registry in which there's a minimum amount of information and quality that all projects have to provide in order to be listed on this registry. And if you're not on the registry, the idea is that you're not of a minimum quality standard. The next thing is, continuing to talk about regulation, is China's IT ministry wants to create official blockchain standards. And this is really cool because this is right in line with what happened last year when they shut everything down, exchanges, ICOs, over-the-counter trading. And it wasn't so much that they hate blockchain, it's more of a tendency towards gambling and viewing ICOs as a gambling opportunity, which they also want to crack down on. So I think this is really cool because, again, it's a very pro-blockchain stance. They're just being very cautious on how they handle the technology. I think we're going to start seeing some of this come on the United States side if we can figure out if we're going to call them securities or money or commodities, or maybe depending on the token, it can be different ones instead of blanket everything. And then last piece I wanted to touch on is a little bit about KuCoin. This has not been verified. This is over on CryptoLeak by John Marino. Basically, it's a screenshot that shows KuCoin is potentially under investigation from the Securities and Futures Commission, basically talking about them possibly trading and selling illegally securities. So, again, take this with a grain of salt, but if you have funds on KuCoin, I might recommend pulling them off into your own wallet. Again, you should never really be leaving a lot of money on exchanges unless you're actively trading anyway. But it sounds like there's been some issues with them not paying out the bonuses for holding the KuCoin shares, the KCS tokens, and they've been silent and starting to remove anyone asking about missing payments. So it's just, I don't know if this is FUD. I'm just bringing it to everyone's attention, so it's something you want to keep an eye out on. Lastly, I wanted to touch on something. It's just kind of a random website that exists. It's only for Ethereum currently, and it's called State of the Dapps, stateofthedapps.com. And it's actually a pretty cool website if you want to check out what people are building on the Ethereum blockchain in terms of decentralized apps. And you can sort it by a few different things: most viewed, hot, new, popular, various categories of where they are in development. And this is really neat because while a lot of these are still very beta, if you want to see, again, what people are building, whether it's Life Lottery, Crypto Titties, Gnosis, which is a really famous one, Crypto Kitties, F-Color, Gotcha. There's one called 1 million words here, which is basically everyone writes one word at a time forever to write this message to the Ethereum blockchain. How useful is it? I'm not really sure. But again, it's a glimpse into what people are building. And I really believe Leroy, which is a decentralized Twitter, I definitely recommend checking that one out. Not really user-friendly yet and kind of expensive because you have to pay gas to upvote and message and retweet and all of that, or re-Leroy. Anyway, it's a great way to check it out, and I highly recommend it. Uport is an identity management from Consensus Solution. Just tons of stuff here. So if you want to check it out, highly recommend it. I'll link it in the description below. And that's it for today's Crypto Daily Update. If you guys like what I'm saying, I'd love to hear any comments, questions, or concerns you have. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell and like this video. All right, till next time, take it easy.